Hi, my name is Van, and you're listening to my daddy's podcast, The Morgan You Know.
Love the show, and you should check out my buddy Rod Morgan's pod, The Morgan You Know, as I'm confident he's primed to make some waves on the scene.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Morgan You Know podcast, my favorite time of the week. Thank you so much for carving out a little bit of your time to be with us, whether it's live here on Twitch or YouTube or Facebook. We appreciate you. If it's later on whatever podcast platform you choose to do your podcast listening, make sure that you like, make sure that you follow. Heck, give us a comment every once in a while. It's things like that that helps me and this man who does all of the hard work on this podcast with me move up the charts and get a few more listeners. And his name's Jimmy Jamriska. Jimmy, wouldn't that be great if we got a couple of likes and comments on our podcast platforms?
Yeah, we'd love it. Our everything else is doing pretty good, but the podcast numbers itself could go up, but that's okay, or we could just record like 30-second takes and get out of here in like 5 minutes. Whatever, I'm fine.
Yeah, I was going to say that would certainly be more efficient for all of us, but what fun is just doing 30-second takes? Half the fun is the debate and the meandering, and somebody who knows a thing or two about meandering, someone who's been in thousands more debates than the rest of us because he's old as dirt, but we love him anyway. He's the old man, Chris King. Chris, hello.
Listen, if you guys are watching this out there on YouTube or X or whatever else, just go over and download, right? You don't have to listen. Just give us the download. That's all we care about. Give us a thumbs up, give us a heart, give us a download, and then delete us off your phone.
There we go. Hey, listen, I'm not so sure about that. We'd appreciate if you listen to us a little bit because they might have some knowledge dropped upon them. But Chris, you're not wrong there. You're not wrong that at least that little bit of effort would help us. You are not wrong there. The old man always has an interesting perspective. That's why we love him on this show. I like to start us out with a cold open question of the week. We will talk about sports and sports entertainment throughout the rest of the show. We will touch on definitely some wrestling. I think maybe some basketball, but that'll be up to Jimmy. But what we're going to touch on first is there's a new project that just dropped on Netflix, a 10-episode series called The Hawk. It's all about a washed-up professional golfer played by Will Ferrell. So, gentlemen, my cold open question to you is, what is your favorite Will Ferrell project? I'm going to put project in quotation marks here, okay? You don't have to give me a movie. You could give me a Saturday Night Live character. You give me a character he portrayed as a guest spot on a show. You could give me a sketch that he was in that appeared on Funny or Die. The man has been in our lives for so long, and he's been giving us so much humorous content, and I've ambled along long enough to allow both of you gentlemen to listen and think. I hear you, see your eyes moving. I will go to Chris King first. Chris, your favorite Will Ferrell project?
You know how I just despise following any rule you give me. So I'm breaking up Will Ferrell into two parts, right? His early SNL type days and now his later years, right? Because I think there's two distinct things. And for me, his early career, when I heard and watched him do his Harry Carey skits and impersonation on SNL, it hit home so hard, right? I'm a Cubs fan, you guys know it, and that Harry Carey show that he did was great, was fantastic. It was everything. Harry Carey himself would absolutely love that. But in his later years was something that wasn't even really done for TV or anything else. That was when he pretended to be a security guard at a Clippers game and then kicked Shaq out at the end of the game. That was by far one of the funniest things I ever saw in an NBA game.
Mic on mute. The man's been in how many different movies, appeared on Saturday Night Live for how many different years, guest stars, and Chris pulls out the time he portrayed a Clippers security guard to kick out Shaq. Again, I told you, he's got a perspective unlike no other, babe. That's why we love him here. Jimmy, what do you got?
Well, I'm going to follow Chris. I loved it. Didn't he go to spring training and bat in every single spring training game? That was an amazing thing to do. That's not even funny. It's just a flex. It's like, I'm Will Ferrell. I'm Elf. I can do this, and I'm going to.
He played every position, I believe, that day.
Was it every position? What I mean, it's just an amazing thing he did. So
Or was it that he played for? Did he just play for every team? Now I can't remember.
I think he played an inning for 9 different teams across like Arizona, right? So he ended up playing for the Cubs, and I think he would kind of like switch teams during a game as well. You know what I mean? And so I think he only traveled to a couple of different parks. But yeah, it's a great documentary. You can find it on HBO Max.
Yeah, it was 9 teams and 10 different major league for 10 different major league teams, all 9 positions for 10 teams in the Arizona Cactus League. So that was cool. And then one of my favorite SNL skits, and I'll do a movie too, because why not, Rod? The Lovers with Barbara and Dave in the hot tub always gets me. Like the fact that they crack up and they don't even know what's going on is just so terrific. They're in a hot tub. They're getting all the sexual innuendos you can. I just think that that's great. I love that one for sure. Movies, though, that's the toughest one.
Yeah.
It really
where are you
is.
going? We got some titans. I mean, we got some absolute titans. You're talking old school. You're talking Wedding Crashers if you want, right? He's got a great cameo in Wedding Crashers. You know, we got Talladega Nights. Anchorman.
Mom the Meatloaf and Wedding Crashers is probably the funniest
Lives
5
on.
minutes. You know, it really does. So you said that. I mean, Elf is obviously something everyone watches every Christmas. I'm Ron Burgundy. I think Anchorman is probably my favorite of them all.
I think Anchorman is the movie that I put up the most. I love Step Brothers an awful lot, right? I love Talladega Nights an awful lot because of its absurdity, but Anchorman is just pitched perfect. And the fact that they basically have a whole nother 2-hour Anchorman from seats that got cut out of the movie that you can watch when you own the DVD is absolutely amazing there. So, but my answer will be another HBO property, Jimmy, but it will be him as a guest star, and that is the owner of a car dealership named Ashley Schaefer, who gives one Kenny Powers another endorsement deal later in his career. He showed up on Eastbound and Down, and when I am really, really low and I need something to make me laugh, I go to the outtakes of him and Danny McBride and Craig Robinson talking about the Plums. And those guys just absolutely not being able to hold it together for Will Ferrell talking about his son walking in on him and his wife. And I said, no, let the boy watch. He needs to learn. I mean, like just that scene. So Ashley Schaefer is the one for me, but I've loved Will Ferrell an awful lot. I want to shout out Hawk this way. There have been 2 properties released on streaming services recently that feature golf. You had Stick that Apple TV released with Owen Wilson, had its moments, but here in Hawk, Luke Wilson has some moments as Will Ferrell's nemesis, Golden Finch. And I say, give me more Luke Wilson as a shit heel, Jimmy. I think we can use a little bit more shit heels in our lives and movies. I, like you, love Luke Wilson. I think this can be a new thing for him. So you 2 guys I know haven't checked out Hawk, but you need to. I recommend it pretty highly. If you get annoyed by Will Ferrell, maybe Hawk isn't for you because he's definitely doing all the Will Ferrellness every episode. But if you're a Will Ferrell person and you like golf, Hawk's a can't miss.
I'm really surprised you didn't throw out Semi-Pro there, Rod, because I know you're a Jackie Moon fan, right? You've been a big proponent of that movie for a long time. And I will say Luke Wilson has been a shit heel in the past. In fact, it was the first time I really started to enjoy him. He was a shit heel on That 70s Show.
Oh, yeah. I forgot he did have a bit of a run there, didn't he? I guess he's got a bit of a run in Rushmore, the Bill Murray movie, the early Wes Anderson film where he's kind of like the shit doctor character. But yeah, I like this out of Luke Wilson, right? Like, I didn't like Stick all that much. I got to be honest with you. They tried to portray Stick as a golf comedy, and it ends up not really being a golf comedy. There's stuff going on with the Hawk. They're trying to explore, divorce and father-son and redemption and all those things, but they still remember it's supposed to be a comedy. So I laughed hard at a lot of scenes in the Hawk. So I recommend it highly, Jimmy Jam. A little TV pick there. We haven't done any pop culture TV since the big 90s sitcom. So I thought I'd touch on it here to open up the show.
So it was between Hawk and Widow's Bay for me. I took Widow's Bay. It's supposed to be a horror comedy. I'm not going to lie. I think I might be the only one in the world that didn't really like it at all. Didn't find the comedy. Didn't know it was supposed to be a comedy. Still don't know it's supposed to be a comedy. Yes, there are a couple weird things in there, so I can't wait to check out Hawk.
See, I did, Jimmy, you know, I'm a big Ringer proponent, and my guy CR loves Widow's Bay, right? Loves Widow's Bay. But I chose to stay away from it because I know I'm not a horror guy. I heard so many people saying like you did that it's funny, but I still knew that I'm just not enough of a horror guy to check it out.
Never said it was funny.
Yeah.
Never said it was
I know,
funny.
that's what I mean. I'm saying I like you heard that it was supposed to be. Yeah. All right, Chris, so there we go. There's my TV recommendation. There's Jimmy saying he's going to go. What have you been watching recently? I'm sure it hasn't been Hawk or Widow's Bay.
Taskmaster. All right. If you guys want to watch a good show and you want some good reality TV, right? Watch it's on YouTube. It's a British show. It's called Taskmaster. They're on their 22nd season starting up. It is fantastic.
I thought you were calling me a taskmaster because I was asking you to give an answer there. I didn't realize that was the show you were talking about.
Oh yeah. It is fantastic. You guys are Jason Masucik fans, right?
Yes, love him.
Yep. Watch season 19 of Taskmaster. He is on there, and he is fantastic.
All right, there we go. Couple of TV recommendations for you off the top, talking about Will Ferrell being back in our lives on Netflix. You know what's about to leave our lives is the NBA. But Jimmy may have a question or two about it before we get into wrestling on this podcast.
Well, I want to first talk about the fastest 15 minutes or probably 2 stories in the NBA. We are the fast break. Got to talk about a job search, Rod. Not going to lie. It's time for me to look on LinkedIn. And yesterday, the director of YouTube strategy appeared for the Miami Heat. The junior social media content creator also came up. So I thought that was pretty cool, looking into that a little bit. You have any idea why that would come up, Rod?
Oh, well, yeah, the Miami Heat, I guess, had a placeholder for a press conference that maybe they might need to schedule, and then somebody released that, and then a whole lot of people got a hold of it, and now all of a sudden we have no LeBron James announcement. So I guess LeBron saw his shadow, and we have to wait 6 more weeks for the LeBron James announcement.
So the Miami Heat threw up a coming soon on, July 27th, press conference LeBron James, without telling anybody. And as someone who manages a few different social media accounts for a few different things, I manage mine, got the Morgan, we do our rock draft with 97.7. I have accidentally posted, a short here or there on the wrong thing. Never made a mistake this big, though. You don't even put this on YouTube. You make the video, you put it in a folder, and you just sit on it. Because if it's true, you really don't want anybody to know. Or if it's, hey, we're just going to do a placeholder just in case. I can see how that can happen, but you've got to make sure you don't do it, Chris.
Yeah, that's when you're dealing with like specific files, because and our line of work, sometimes you have to do that. You need to make sure that file is named correctly, stored correctly. So this type of mistake cannot happen, right? And if this is just a placeholder for what something might be, there is a specific section or folder on that server that lives all the time. So someone really screwed up. I'm surprised there was only 2 of those job openings on LinkedIn.
Yeah, for sure. So I just feel bad for the people who did that, because listen, it's not funny. Someone lost their job over this, or it could have just been really interesting timing. But someone probably did lose their job over this, and that sucks, because that person's not going to get a multi-million-dollar contract to go somewhere else. They're going to have to go try and get a new job. And with the question that you always get asked, Rod, so why'd you leave your last job? Well, you see what happened.
That'd be an interesting one to try to tell the story for, wouldn't it? All right, conspiracy, Chris. Let me throw something else at you that I read when I was doing a little bit of perusing of the X and some research here before tonight's show. There are some that believe LeBron is waiting just to spite Adam Silver, because apparently Adam Silver reached out to LeBron and said, hey, we kind of need you to make your decision because we need to start locking down the schedule. Do you buy into that?
Well, we already know there's a grain of truth to that because Silver came out and said that, yeah, we do need him to make a decision because we're going to make a decision based on where he's playing, right? Miami may not get a Christmas Day game even though they got Giannis, but they definitely will if they have LeBron and Giannis, right? You're going to have LeBron play on Christmas Day. And if you don't know who's going to play on Christmas Day, it's going to be real hard to do the rest of the schedule. So, yeah, there's a grain of truth there, right? I also think there's a lot of hate going towards Adam Silver's way. We've seen it on this podcast, right? So maybe people just want this to be true and hope that LeBron is doing something like this. But we have seen LeBron toe the company line way, way more than he hasn't. So I don't know. He gets pretty good treatment from the NBA as a whole. So he may not be as mad at Adam Silver as the rest of us.
You know, Bill Simmons went on Game Over with Max Kellerman and Rich Paul. I don't really listen to that podcast. I see some of the highlights, but I listen to this one because Bill Simmons is my guy, so I have to. And they were really giving Rich Paul a hard time. Rich Paul's like, listen, it's not my decision. I'm the jockey here. I'm waiting for him to make the decision. And honestly, I mean, does he know kind of where he's going to go? Yeah, probably. But again, it's up to LeBron to say, this is when I'm doing it. This is when I'm going to announce it. He's earned the right to do that, and that's fine. But again, let's move on. Let's get going here. And it could be Miami. Miami's the weird one for me, but it could be. You never know.
Listen, I love LeBron, and I have been a defender of his quite often when our mutual friend Matt Wu-Tang Kaczerski comes on here and wants to do all of his anti-LeBron garbage that he has done for years. Others join him from time to time, and I'm quick to defend LeBron. But there's no way, Chris, that I am not going to be real about what's going on here. And this is just LeBron James completely stroking his ego. And frankly, he's getting a little out of control here. I mean, his messaging of, well, it's all about happiness and it's all about my family. Like, no other NBA player gets to say that. You know what I mean? Like, no other NBA player gets to like hold up business for an extended period when nothing's really going down because you and your daughter have to figure out what's going to make her happy. Like, cool, great, LeBron. Like, all of us have to go through that, but you don't have to talk to us about that. You just need to make your decision already.
Right. We have seen this in other sports, specifically the NFL, right? And I think this is where it's kind of leaking. We've seen high-profile quarterbacks especially do this to the NFL many times in the past. They always seem to come out of Milwaukee for some reason. I don't know. Anyways, I'm not Milwaukee, Green Bay. Sorry, Milwaukee. I hate you for other reasons. So like, yeah, like he has a big ego. We know he's a narcissist, right? He's been like this his entire career from the time he took his talents to South Beach the first time. So I'm not that surprised, and no one else should be either, right? We knew this was going to happen. He's going to make sure that he is the top story as often as he can. And again, doing what he's doing at his age and for how long he's been doing it, yeah, he probably deserves a little bit. If anybody does, it's him. We wouldn't have given Michael this much grief probably if he was doing this in 99 and 2000, even more so than what he did when he played in Washington. So I don't know. It doesn't bug me that much. If it makes Adam Silver unhappy, good. I think that's a nice byproduct. I think it's more interesting if LeBron does go to Miami, though, than anywhere else.
See, I don't know. I think the stories, like, I don't think Cleveland's anything special. I think Philadelphia is amazing because I think that team would be really, really good. And then, of course, the Warriors, I think, is just you're putting two mega powers together.
Jimmy, you know what I'm going to do here? I'm going to absolutely throw a bone to Chris, and I'm going to talk about something that I know will not happen. But I've come around to saying, you know what? It actually might be a very good basketball argument. How about the Indiana Pacers? How about a team that's never won an NBA championship? Okay. How about a state that is absolutely basketball crazy? How about a team that's already pretty well ready-made, okay? And I'm talking ready-made with like veterans, all right? Not like a young team, like if you went up to Minnesota, those guys aren't necessarily ready to win. Or if you went to Cleveland, those guys haven't showed anything. We're talking about a team that went to the NBA Finals, made it all the way to Game 7. I think I'm as guilty as anybody else forgetting that about this Indiana Pacers team. We could be a non-Tyrese Halliburton injury away from the Pacers being the NBA champion a few years ago and not the Oklahoma City Thunder. So you want to go somewhere where like a title would mean something to the scope of the NBA and like an entire generational fan base? How about the Indiana Pacers?
So those emojis were actually a distraction, and they were like, no, I'm actually going to the Pacers, Tyrese. I like that.
You would really do something that Jordan really hadn't done. I mean, I know he won a championship in Chicago technically when they hadn't won one, right? But like, not a team that has been through what the Pacers have been, so close so many times, real recent, right? You already got an all NBA type player on the team. You have a veteran lineup with solid role players built around you. It's perfect for LeBron. I specifically didn't bring this up a week ago because I thought I was going to get laughed off the pod. So thank you, Rod.
And before we get to wrestling, I do want to talk about one more quick thing. In January, Quinn Brown, who's 19, purchased a Wilt Chamberlain warm-up jacket out of a Goodwill bargain bin for $3.07. It just sold at Sotheby's for $89,000. So those Goodwill bins are something to go and look at.
Like when you hear a story like that, do you get like me and you just get mad? You're like, how come I haven't been lucky enough to just come across something? I've spent my time in a bunch of stores that didn't deserve my time looking around at a bunch of crap. How come I never managed to come across that? I've stopped at a few garage sales in my day, being a delivery man for the United States Postal Service for many years and now delivering the happiness of flowers to people. I can stop at a garage sale anytime I want. I've never happened across a slick Wilt Chamberlain jacket that ended up being authentic and made me $89,000. Jimmy, what would we do here at the podcast network if somehow we came across that kind of a windfall? I mean, what would we do?
We'd buy views 100%.
Yeah, we probably would. We try to get that foothold.
We'd get Rod better internet.
We'd get Rod better internet. We'd get out of debt for the podcast as a whole. So that would be nice. 89,000 would probably cover most of that. So that would be fun. But I thought that was a kind of a fun story there. But what else is a fun story is the WWE, and it is time for the Yeah We Know podcast section of the Morgan You Know podcast. We have our special call-ups edition of the podcast here. I'm going to say podcast one more time. So the WWE over the past few months has brought up a lot of people or signed a lot of new people. So what we're going to do is we're going to say, where are they now? Because as Rod, as you've said many times, anyone can debut to grandeur and glory. But where are you now?
That's the difficult part, right? Like professional wrestling is built upon returns and nostalgia. And hey, remember, right? Like that's sort of the bedrock of the whole thing. And then I accused my guy, I'm calling him my guy all of a sudden because I think he's standing up to TKO. But Paul Levesque is all about like, hey, stories get a little stale. Remember this guy or remember this girl? So yeah, we're definitely, the call up is there, but then like, where are you going to go? And that I think is the real interesting part of this podcast because I'm not so sure that there's places for them to go. So it'll be, I don't know how much I'm going to have to hold it against the people. So this should be fun.
All right, I'm going to throw a nice little easy one out at you. Obafemi. Where do you think he is now, Chris King?
I mean, he's over. He's main event worthy as far as I'm concerned. Is that what you're wanting me to tell you? Because that's what he is.
What's the first thing that comes to mind? And in my mind, I probably should have started this. I do apologize, Chris. The first thing that comes to mind is main eventer for decade to come. He has everything. He's got the entrance. He's got the look. He's got some decent in-ring skills. His mic work is decent as well. I mean, really, he is the total package right now. And they have gone with him shoot him to the moon. He beat Brock Lesnar. He's going to main event in a Hell in a Cell against Brock Lesnar. I think Obafemi has been an amazing success for the WWE and will continue to be so, Rod.
I think Obafemi is champion next year, WrestleMania, or we've done something wrong. Like that's what pops into my head with Obafemi, right? And we say that about a lot of guys. You know what I mean? Like I think I might have at one point on this podcast said Austin Theory needs to be championed by WrestleMania, or we did something wrong. I might have even said that about Riddle. I'm just trying to be real here. I may have said that about Matt Riddle at one point, who definitely was not there. So while you can feel it now, maybe it doesn't actually work out. But you said it, Jimmy. I think that Obafemi is the correlation of what we actually need, okay? If this is to be believed, right, I understand that these are all stories, right? But we are at least led to believe that Obafemi is someone who loved wrestling as a kid, who had it in the back of his mind that at some point he would be a WWE superstar, okay? So he wants it. He hopefully understands it, and he seems smart enough to be doing things to take care of his body. Even his ring entrance, Jimmy, that you describe as over, that's low energy, right? Oba doesn't have to burn up any energy at all getting into the ring. Have you ever seen Jey Uso? My guy, I love my guy. But you seen how worn out Jey Uso is before he gets ready to just start a match? Obafemi's not doing that, right? So it just, to me, it leads me down the path of, okay, this guy wants wrestling stardom. He's wanted it for a long time, and he knows the little intricacies that are going to be necessary to get him there.
And for all these old people like Chris, he looks like a professional wrestler. He walks in an airport, you know what he does, and that's pretty cool. And I think that he can go anywhere, and it's terrific. All right, Rod. Matt Cardona.
Nowhere is where I think of with Matt Cardona, unfortunately. And it really, really pains me because I think that, like, if we now live in a world where we allow WWE commentators, and Jimmy, this has been one of your things that you've talked about for a long time, the change in Vince McMahon out and a new in meant little things, right? You didn't always have to call wrestlers superstars. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like, you weren't just hit. You could talk about other wrestling promotions and where people were before they got there. So I think that a guy like Matt Cardona is sitting there for you. You pushed him out. He went and dominated, created something for himself, got a rising tide behind him. You got the huge cheap pop of bringing him back, and then you just crapped all over him and didn't do a thing with him. And I don't know that that's Matt Cardona's fault. I'm not even sure that they gave him a chance to be any kind of a character once they brought him back. So I don't know what he's supposed to do, Jim.
I kind of agree, and I love Matt Cardona. They brought him back as Zack Ryder to be in the John Cena tournament. So right there's a little question mark, because I think the week before he was Matt Cardona, then he's Zack Ryder, now he's Matt Cardona again. He was known on the indies for having great mic work, being a terrific heel. He is a god of the weapons match, even though he only did basically one, but that's okay, did the death match. But they really haven't let him do anything. And I know not everyone can be a superstar, but he is someone who outside of wrestling also has a huge following, still on YouTube, always been a big YouTube guy, really into the wrestling collectibles, married to Chelsea Green. So there's a great story there as well. Chris, I don't see Matt Cardona going any higher than that ceiling that he's at right now.
I was going to say, to me, his ceiling is U.S. champion. And that's the very top that I see him getting if he even gets a chance. I do think if you're able to somehow pair him up with Chelsea Green, I think that would be a great combination to take down Dominic Mysterio and Liv in the Judgment Day. Like, if you want to try to knock them down a peg and take their belts, right there, Matt Cardona, Chelsea Green, you know it's going to be good. Those are four of some of the best people probably that they have on the mic.
Yeah, it could be. I think that they would have to put them together. But Chelsea Green is someone who we're not going to talk about too much here. But Chelsea Green is someone who has everything, is the star of Unreal again, and they still haven't just gone over with it, because she'll do whatever they ask her to do. And when you do that, you're going to be asked to do stuff that's just not going to go anywhere, Rod.
Something just hit me as Chris was talking there and as you were talking, right? Because one of my favorite parts about this pod is that we can bounce ideas off one another and we will listen, right? You said Cardona's a great heel. You know what Chelsea Green's actually really, really good at? Being a heel, okay? Like, don't get me wrong. I love me some Chelsea Green, and I'm all about her doing what she's doing right now. But you could easily put Matt Cardona and Chelsea Green together as a heel power couple, and you could finally get Liv back to being a babyface. Because I'm not against what Liv Morgan is doing right now, but I personally believe Liv Morgan does better work as your underdog babyface than what they have her doing right now. But she occupies a lot of weight right now as one of their main heels. So someone's going to have to fill that void, and that'd be an interesting thing right there.
For sure. I'm going to take, let's see here. Let's go with Ethan Page. First thing that comes to my mind with Ethan Page is waiting. We're still waiting for the WWE to really let him bust out of that shell. And it seems to me they brought him up a little early because I don't know how much plans they had with him. Yeah, he's been here and there in some decent matches, but we still haven't seen what he can do. And I'm worried they're not going to get his full potential, Rod, because talking about Chelsea Green, they had a great duo going there too.
Do you want to know what the first thing that comes to mind when I hear Ethan Page is the next guy that we hear about in 2 years who's getting released? That's the first thing that comes to my mind when I hear Ethan Page, unfortunately, because you're dead right, Jimmy. They brought him up too fast. They don't have anywhere for him to go. They plugged him right next to somebody else that they got absolutely no idea what to do with, Rusev. And I don't know, man. Like, the all ego Ethan Page song is great, and the character that he developed in NXT is great, but that doesn't seem to be the character the WWE's too interested in right now because they're not fully letting him do it. They're basically just assuming that all of us know that that's who Ethan Page is. And Jimmy, you and I are big time wrestling fans here, but we don't really watch that much NXT, and Chris doesn't watch a lot of NXT at all. So assuming that everybody already knows that that's who Ethan Page is a thing too far. They've got to show us. They can't assume.
Chris, Ethan Page, what comes to your mind?
He's an afterthought. Right? I'm sorry, because Rod hit it on the head. I don't know who he is. I don't know what that character was because I don't watch NXT, right? And maybe this is the WWE's fault for not taking into account they do have a lot of fans that only pay attention to the main brand. And in this case, I don't know what he's known for or what he is. So right now, all I see is another blowhard working with Rusev for some reason, who didn't seem to earn anything in my eyes to be in the conversation for a belt.
Yeah, I think we can also lump, and it stinks because they do have the same body type, but Ricky Saints into this as well, where he had a little shot against Trick Williams, didn't go very well, wasn't on SmackDown, wasn't on Raw last couple of weeks here. I think Ricky Saints is kind of in that same boat, Rod. Thoughts on Ricky?
Ricky is baffling. That's my thought. Baffling. Like, when he came up, it was like we'd already seen a big comeback. I can't remember exactly who it was, but like we'd already seen a big comeback a little while before that. Then Baron Corbin showed up a couple of weeks again after Ricky Saints made his debut. You know what I mean? We haven't even seen Trick Williams for that long, and now Ricky Saints is involved in that. Melo's been around for a long time, but we've never had anything for him to do. And so then we're just like, wait, Ricky Saints, why don't you get involved with these guys? And like, he, to me, even more than Ethan Page, was like, we're doing Ricky Saints now? That's a thing we're doing? Like, I kind of understood that Ethan Page had maybe run his course down there in NXT, but Ricky Saints, I was like, we're doing that now? I'm bewildered by Ricky Saints, Jimmy.
Chris.
The one match I saw him in, I was impressed. Like, I even gave him a shout out when we were talking about Trick on here, right? Because I was impressed with that match. I was like, okay, I'm interested to see him more than I don't see him anymore, right? So it's I want more. I want to see more. That's where I'm at with him. I want to see more. Maybe it is too early. I don't know. I do think maybe the WWE is too concerned with calling too many people up too often instead of trying to develop some people they actually have that we do want to see more story on. But I don't know. I want to
Jimmy,
see
I
more
wonder.
with Ricky Saints.
Sorry about that, Chris. I wonder, Jimmy, if this is again contractual, right? We talk all the time about how like we don't know exactly what are in these guys' contracts, but Ricky Saints was Ricky. What was he in AEW?
Starks.
Ricky Starks.
Ricky Starks.
And he was Ricky Starks in AEW, and so he was the guy that they got to come to them, right? Which they love to trumpet a little bit, right? They're not necessarily worried when a guy that they're done with goes to AEW, but when they can poach somebody that they think is good from AEW to them, they love it, right? AKA their number one golden boy right now they got from AEW. You know what I mean? So I wonder if it was just contractually, Jimmy, they were like, hey, we got to pull Ricky Saints up because we told him we would in the deal that he signed.
Yeah. I don't think they do that. I really don't. But I think what they want to do is they want to show if you do come over from AEW, we're going to push you and we're going to bring you up and we're going to get you on that main roster. We don't want you to be scared. Now, once you're on the main roster, we'll see what happens. Okay. Let's go with Sol Ruca. Chris, first thing that comes to mind when I say Sol Ruca.
Kind of impressed, confused why she already has a belt on her.
The Stephanie Vicker scenario where they put the belt on really, really quick on her.
Right, we're it's another person who had a following before I got to introduced, right? So I feel like I'm not in the know a little bit. I'm somewhat interested in the character, but like I just don't know enough, and it happened real quick, and then not much really of a story to be told. Just all of a sudden, like, hey, here's this person. She's awesome in the ring. She wins a belt.
So I'm going to go with needs to get out of her own head. She had a couple of mistakes to start off her WWE main roster time, and she made a couple more then. And I think now she's starting to get a little better, but she's really not acting on instinct. She was thinking about it too much, and that in turn hurt her. Now, they have pushed her. She's got a great look. She's got some good moves. She does have the IC title. I kind of agree with you there, but Rod, I really think that she got in her own head a lot.
Yeah, I think too soon is what I come to for her, and I think about it on a couple of different levels, right? Way too soon for her to have the IC belt. Way too soon for her to get the best of Becky Lynch in a multiple feud engagement. You know what I mean? Like this is the man. This is a WWE Hall of Famer. And too soon in, she can do some athletic things, yes, but I think that's kind of a smokescreen. I'm not actually sure that she's that great in the ring. And so, Jimmy, you can write it off to she's a little too in her head and not letting the instincts take over, but I don't know that she has those instincts, right? Like, and I have the same thought with her that I have with Javon Evans as well. Like, too soon, but it has to be soon because you're not long for this game doing the crazy shit that both of them are doing. So we better get it done now.
I think Javon Evans is right now kind of he's a special attraction, and we like to see him jump. We like to see him dive, but then where does that go? Because even in NXT, they like to have him lose a lot. And he's going to be someone who's very young, and he could be in the WWE for the next 15 years. But we do need to bring him back a little bit so he's around for 15 years, Chris. Javon Evans.
How many times can I watch this guy literally look like he has broken all the ribs that he has in his body, still able to do something, and then 30 seconds later do another backflip type thing into a table out of the ring? Like, it is insane to me what this guy puts his body through. May not walk in his 50s.
For sure. I mean, that's definitely something that could happen there. Okay, we're going to go to a recent call-up again. Joe Hendry came from NXT. And Rod may kill me for this one, but when I think of Joe Hendry, I think Chris Jericho. And what do I mean by that? Chris Jericho debuted, one of the best debuts ever. It still gets millions of views with The Rock. Highest of highs. Didn't wrestle at WrestleMania that year. Was put in feuds with the Road Dogg. Didn't do too much, and then had to gradually then work his way up to being the Mount Rushmore Chris Jericho that he is. Shout out to you old fans out there. Joe Hendry made his WWE main roster debut at the Royal Rumble in Indianapolis. in one of the greatest moments that I think we have experienced in WWE live events as we've been there. He then faced Randy Orton at WrestleMania. And then he was in NXT. They brought him up. He was going to feud big with Logan Paul, and we all know what happened with Logan Paul. And now he was just kind of hanging out there. Now they brought him up with Danhausen. I'm a little nervous about that. A little nervous, not going to lie. So we'll see what happens. I think he's on that trajectory, though, of kind of just being in the middle, and then hopefully one day we can get him a little higher, Rod.
How dare you? How dare you, Joe? Joe, I apologize for my lifelong friend, James Thomas Jamriska, who I thought I knew. And then he goes and does something like this. He just stopped believing, Joe. He just stopped believing. He doesn't understand that what just happened, where you and Danhausen did the spin together, was probably the greatest moment in professional wrestling in the last decade. Okay. And what Jimmy is failing to realize, Joe, is that you are making absolute gourmet out of every little morsel of food that the WWE is giving you. You are milking every bit of crowd reaction. You are doing every last thing you can do to get yourself over. You are now being hyped as a coming attraction just to do concerts. Okay, Joe, everything's fine. I apologize for Jimmy. You are so over, and you will be a multiple-time WWE champion and perhaps one of the greatest baby faces the WWE has ever seen.
All right, Chris, what comes to mind when I say Joe Hendry?
So I thought about this earlier, and Rod just solidified my answer completely. I was going to say Rod and Jimmy's most absurd obsession in wrestling since 2024.
Wow, that's okay. That's big.
Because that's how long you guys.
Or you're going to be done.
Oh, that's how
Chris,
long you guys.
Here's
have been
what I
saying,
don't like, Chris.
say
You've
his
been to
name.
London. You've been to Canada and Mexico and Scotland. You've been to all of these places. You understand better than Jimmy and I do how much they pull for Joe Hendry in these locale. And you're going to come on here and say something like that?
All I said is he is your guys' newest obsession and biggest obsession in wrestling for the last couple of years. And that's not lying. It is. You guys have been saying his name for that long, well before I knew who he was, right? And listen, I was ready to jump on board. He came out with that beautiful song, Fire Logan Paul, right? And it just sucks that Logan Paul had to get hurt. I think we were getting ready for something glorious. But that happens, right? So now he has to, pair up with the biggest showstopper in the WWE right now, Danhausen, and it's fantastic, Jimmy. I don't see how this could backfire because everything either one of them touches right now is gold.
Well, I think the only reason it could backfire is Danhausen is going on a trajectory that we might be getting a little too much. And if Joe Hendry is then put in that comedy role with Danhausen, in that R-Truth role, that is where it could go downhill, where he's just going to be, everything will be the same. It's just he's going to be portrayed more as a comedy act instead of an actual champion. Speaking of Danhausen, we've talked about him a lot, so let's talk about him here. What a 180-degree turn from his debut. I mean, really. So what I'm thinking is keep going. I'm so happy for him. He came out, and a lot of people didn't know who he was. They were expecting Chris Jericho to come out, and that is the last time people were not happy to see him because he has gone, and he uncursed lettuce over the weekend. Hopefully that works because not good. Someone held up a head of lettuce and said, Danhausen, uncursed. Should have held up the bag of lettuce, but that's okay. So I think keep going, Rod.
I think that Danhausen is a great American ingenuity story, right? This is a guy who figured out what he was and how he could take what he is and get that over, right? And that's amazing. That's amazing. In a sport where, Jimmy, we started this conversation talking about Oba Femi, okay? We called Oba Femi over. But only in the world of professional wrestling can a guy like Oba Femi, who has NCAA track and field championship pedigree behind him, and he's 6'8", 340, 60 pounds, whatever he is, right? Be on the same level as a guy like Danhausen, who doesn't have a single muscle on his body, is maybe 6'2" and 170 pounds, right? Like, and he can't wrestle. He cannot wrestle. Like, all credit to JD McDonough for whatever kind of weird acrobatic thing that JD McDonough did to himself, and they called as a wonderful reversal by Danhausen in that match, all right? Because all I saw was JD McDonough basically jump himself up into the air, twist himself around so it could look like Danhausen pulled a reversal, all right? But it's great. It's what you still can do in America, maybe, right? I don't know how possible I thought it was anymore, but Danhausen's doing it right now.
That's fantastic. I love it. Chris, you love Danhausen.
Of course I do. I love everything about him, right? And you're not wrong, Rod, right? He's not great wrestling in the ring, which I do think eventually he needs a partner in crime, right? Someone that can actually do the violence in the ring for him, and he can still do his gig, give me the human monies. Someone needs a tooth in NXT. Okay, I can help you out there. Whatever it is, right? He can do it, and I think it's gold.
Let's go to the women again. Jordynne Grace. First thing that comes to my mind is, damn it, they don't have anything for her. All she's done is worked main event. She's got such a unique look. She's good in the ring. She has proven herself in NXT and TNA. And right now, they just don't have room for her. So what I think, damn it, because I think she's awesome. Chris.
Frustration. All right, kind of on the same lines. And we touched on this earlier, but I think it's a real shame. There are phenomenal female wrestlers that they continue to not use, push to the side, and continue to put people in the ring that aren't ready, that may be dangerous and are having issues. I think they are doing themselves a disservice.
Okay. Rod, what comes to mind with Jordynne Grace?
Could very easily be Jade Cargill. I mean, just could very easily be Jade Cargill. They both came from similar circumstances, right? Jade was in NXT. Not NXT. Jade came from AEW, right? So, I mean, again, another league. So maybe it's that whole thing that you talked about, Jimmy. They've got to, protect her. They have more of a relationship with TNA, where Jordynne Grace came from. Then they had her in the NXT, kind of their own farm system. So perhaps they feel that she's a little more indebted to them. I don't know. But her look is, to me, what Jade Cargill's look is, right? Okay, you could convince me that Jade Cargill might be able to be on the cover of Elle a little easier than Jordynne Grace. Okay, I get that. You know what I mean? But as far as bodybuilding physique goes, Jade Cargill, Jordynne Grace, both similar right there. So you could have Jordynne Grace be the, here's a new heel out of nowhere, absolutely shit stomping everybody. And maybe I wouldn't find her as annoying as I find Jade Cargill. So maybe that's just a personal thing on my point, but that's what I think about Jordynne Grace. Could easily be Jade Cargill, and sad that she's not.
I wish the best for her, and I hope that something comes around where they're able to get her involved in more matches for sure. Speaking of someone who has already wrestled and earned that championship, Lash Legend. First thing that comes to mind, Rod, when I say Lash Legend.
Mrs. Trick Williams. That's the first thing that comes to mind, unfortunately, with Lash Legend, because I think there may be something there. She doesn't seem to have much in-ring ability, and you're also not going to look like a tactician wrestling along with Nia Jax, so that's definitely not going to help me think that you're on your way to winning the Eddie Guerrero Award for Fantastic Grappler. But I don't know. Nia Jax is a necessary evil in the WWE. We can all not like her, other than our guy Dax, who loves her for some reason, but she's a necessary evil in the WWE. But you're kind of you're a certain level when you're paired up with Nia Jax, and that's where Lash Legend is. And as much guff as I'll give management and as much guff as we've been like, I don't know why this person on this episode, sometimes I think maybe they know what they're doing. So if they put Lash Legend with Nia Jax, they maybe did it for a reason.
When I think of her, I think of like Raquel Rodriguez, who should probably be more of an enforcer type than a tag team champion at this point. Obviously, I think Raquel Rodriguez is a lot better in-ring worker. Maybe even like a Diesel with Shawn Michaels, having someone huge in there. You know, if Alexa Bliss was a champion, have Lash Legend be the enforcer for her, someone really small. I don't see it yet. And the only way to get there, Rod and Chris, is to have her wrestle more and to be involved in the ring. So I know that. I get it. But, you know, shouldn't that be what NXT is for, though, Chris?
You can't be a has-been if you were a never was. Because that's what I don't see anything out of this person. I had no knowledge of her before they tagged her up with Nia Jax, right? I never once have I seen a memorable promo or anything of that nature that she's done that I could think back of and think that was pretty decent. Nope, never, right? Nothing spectacular ever has been done in the ring that I have seen of her, right? So I don't get it. I don't know. I don't see anything there worthwhile.
Chris, not very big on the women's college basketball scene because we got to see plenty out of Lash Legend on that stage before she came over to the WWE developmental.
Yep, definitely not.
Yeah, I don't believe her actual name is Lash Legend, just for the record, right? So speaking of that, let's go to Royce Keys next on the men's side. We've got 3 more to go. Royce Keys. For me, it's just there's something. I think it's the name still. I think I hate the name. I don't know why.
For me, Royce Keys is simple, and it's 3 letters. TBD. Okay? I think there's definitely something there. I think where they are starting to have him go right now with the last couple times we've seen him on television makes sense to me. It's people that I want to see him involved in matches with. So I think Royce Keys is TBD because he's kind of the newest guy we're dealing with in this list right now. So I think he's a little TBD.
Okay. Chris?
Yeah, I'm excited, right? Because I think there's a lot of potential there, right? I have liked everything that he's been in. I think they're doing a decent job keeping him in the right storyline. It's a believable one, right? He has history with Jacob and Solo, right? He's working with guys we know work well in the ring, and so I'm excited.
Rusev. Be careful.
Rusev gets the same answer. He gets the same answer we gave Ricky Saints, Jimmy. He's going to be the next guy we hear about getting a release. It's got a long WWE resume. He's going to be the next guy we hear about.
He needed either Rusev Day or Lana to come back, and it's not working. People don't really care about him. He had a really good thing going in AEW, Chris, and he blew it because he just wanted to go back to WWE.
What was he in AEW? Is he heel, face?
So he came in as a monster heel. He was one of their champions for not like the big champion, like a U.S. champion. For a while, and then he got hurt, and then he never wanted to lose to anybody. There was a lot of backstage stuff like, "Oh, I'm not losing to anybody," and they just didn't use him. So, yeah, Chris doesn't even care. I love it.
Yeah, Janitor League. I really don't.
And then finally, let's talk about Mr. Lash Legend, Trick Williams. Rod, tell me about Trick.
I think Trick is 85% everything you want a professional wrestler to be, right? But the 15% is the difference between being Shawn Michaels and being Disco Inferno. You know what I mean? Like there's like that 15% is kind of it, right? Like we all loved Michael's entrance music. We all loved the flamboyance. We all loved the pyrotechnics. We all loved his I'm willing to wear any costume, much the same way Trick's willing to wear any coat, right? But We then gained respect for Shawn Michaels because he had absolute wars with The Undertaker and with Ric Flair and with Diesel and with so many other people. And you're like, my God, this guy lives and breathes all of it and is a flamboyant, cocky asshole. Give me that all day long. Trick is a flamboyant, cocky asshole, but I'm not entirely sure he can go. And that will probably be a problem at some point if it's not remedied.
Chris.
Future 5-time WWE champion. That's where I see him at.
I'm going to end it with I agree with Rod completely. I think he's 85% there. We just need a little bit more. He's a star. Entrance, done. Next question. Mic work, done. Next question. In-ring work. Let's keep working on it. Let's get your body and everything situated, and we'll be good to go. But Chris, I agree with you too. I think he could be a multi-time champion coming up if they ever let people like him, and I mean this like the younger people, get in those WWE main events. And with that, you've been listening to the Morgan You Know podcast. We are here every Thursday, Wednesday, Tuesday, whatever day, we don't know. Rod, who do we have coming up in the next week or two? Who's coming back?
We've got big show. I think next week, Jimmy, I think we're going to have two very special guests next week. All right. So we just had an episode of Wrestling Talk where some older men complained about wrestling, right? But what we're going to do next week is we're going to have somebody on the podcast to remind all of us where wrestling fandom starts and what the magic can still do. We're going to bring on our guy Dex Storm's daughter, Ada Storm, who is fast becoming a huge wrestling fan. So she'll give us the perspective of somebody not tainted by years of all of the mistakes that we have seen creative make. And she will remind us all why we love professional wrestling. And oh yeah, our guy, the football handicapper, Josh Williams, will make his way out of hibernation and start talking to us about football teams again. He will no-sell all of my jokes. He will not answer any question that I ask him directly, and he will know far too much about NFL referees. Strap in.
He's also going to circle back all the time. Like, comment, and subscribe. Download. Goodbye, Internet.
I love how Chris is like, hey, download our podcast and don't download it anymore. So 1 week, we'll get like 10,000 downloads. The next week, 3. Thanks.
No, download, then delete that download. Download the next episode, then delete. Like, yeah, there's a system there.
And here's the thing, Jimmy, if we get 10,000 downloads 1 week, like that'll bump us up a little bit, and then it'll be on us to perform at that point. You know what I mean?
Valid. Yeah, you're right. Chris is like, I don't want